So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining today's part of the program. This session is about being agile versus doing agile. Then this is powered by the Scrum Ambassadors. Mainly, this is our program for the Scrum Ambassadors. You can find the rest of the meetups for Friday and Saturday. If you did not yet register, you can find them on scrumambassadors.org/beginners, and then you can register to the right meetup link. So I'll actually leave Peter to go through this, but I'm gonna say I'm proud being part of the Scrum Ambassadors. You can go and see our services online. And I'll leave Peter now. So let me stop sharing, and then Peter can go through all of the rest of the Scrum Ambassadors services.
Okay, great, yes. So magic button number one, share the screen. Oh, I probably ought to go into presentation mode. That makes the things much more attractive. Hold on a second, okay. And I just realized I'm totally on the wrong slide here. So here we are. Meet the Scrum Ambassadors. So who are the Scrum Ambassadors? We are an international group of Scrum trainers and coaches. We share a simple vision. The access to Agile know-how should be easily available, regardless of language, regardless of country, regardless of industry. We noticed that there was a heavy concentration of senior coaches and trainers in North America and Western Europe, a little bit in India, and hardly anything anyplace else. So we want to change that. And you can't really see this here because I don't think it shows the locations, but we have Sri Lanka, Vietnam, US, India, US, more India, Egypt. Where is Mizan from? Bangladesh, I believe, and Romania. So, we've got really quite a broad base, and we're hoping to grow that some more. My name is Peter Stevens. I'm the founder of the Scrum Ambassadors. I founded a couple of other things. I'm probably best known as the creator of the Personal Agility System, the simple framework for aligning what you do with what really matters. I work as an executive. I work as a coach, sometimes as an executive coach. For a long time, my day job has been a Scrum trainer. I'm also a CST. Along with founding the Scrum Ambassadors, I'm also the co-founder of the Personal Agility Institute and the World Agility Forum. And I currently serve as Chief Agility Officer for Vivior AG, a medtech startup here in Zurich. And our idea is better life through better health, through better vision. What's special about the Scrum Ambassadors? Well, we start, I think, with a simpler, more elegant view towards Scrum. Scrum is a simple team-based framework for solving complex problems. So what's a complex problem? Well, developing a new product, especially if it involves software. But even if it doesn't, most products today, even if you think they're hardware products, they're actually really software products. Look at what's happening in cars. And taking your company to the next level is also a complex problem. So how does our view of Scrum differ from other approaches? Well, we start with what I like to call the flower, okay? So at the heart of it, we've got the Scrum values: respect, focus, commitment, courage, and openness. And then we break that down into 5 principles: cadence, so inspect and adapt at regular intervals; ownership, give the whole problem to a small team, okay? And by the way, that whole problem includes decision-making, what the solution should be; tangible results, okay? We want to get something we can use, something we can sell, or something we can test in real life, again, in cadence at frequent regular intervals. And this brings us to the topic of sooner. We want to get those tangible results sooner. So it's not about working harder or working faster. It's about getting focused on doing the right thing and making sure that that right thing produces a tangible result. And there's a role in Scrum called the Scrum Master, whose job it is to help the team and the organization improve their collective performance. And then we have the question of alignment. What are we building and why are we building it? And do we really support it? Scrum has a role called the product owner, whose main job is to solve the alignment problem. One person to whom you can ask for decisions about what goes in the product, whether it's done or not, what should go in the product. And that is the person, the contact person, both inside and outside the team. And finally, leadership. Okay, all projects need leadership. Even self-organized teams need leadership. And leadership needs to provide guidance and support. And they need to know when to stay out of the way. Okay, and that's as true for the leadership roles inside the Scrum team, like the product owner and the Scrum Master, as also the more traditional leadership roles outside the team. So how do we implement this? Well, one last thing. What does this mean? What is this Agile stuff all about? Well, ultimately, if we say we want to go Agile, that's called an Agile transformation. And this is not bolting something on underneath the car. This is restructuring the entire company to optimize for speed and value generation. Okay, and so basically it's a C-level decision and a company-wide effort. And we see this in the success stories coming out of places like the World Agility Forum over and over. So we call this the essence of Scrum. And we find that this gives everybody in the company, from the leadership to the developers to everyone else, the context to understand what their role is and how it fits into the bigger picture. How is our approach to teaching Scrum a bit different? Well, we have a tool, we call this the map of Scrum. Okay, now what's on the map of Scrum? Well, we start with Scrum the way you'll find it in the Scrum guide. Okay, exactly, all legitimate, honorable approaches to Scrum start with the Scrum guide as their definition. But then we add a couple of things. And what's missing from the guide is guidance on behavior. Okay, so we talk about dialogue and responsibility, fast feedback and visualization. But most importantly, we talk about agreements. In fact, we prefer the term agreement over commitments, because commitments have kind of a salute and say yes sir feel to them, whereas agreements by definition are peer-to-peer. And so we've gone and added a couple of additional agreements. The forecast and the sprint contract, which I'll be talking about tomorrow in the sprint planning session, to help the product owner and the team and outsiders understand what it is we're really committing to. And then working agreements as a way to improve performance beyond the basics of Scrum. So what does our training program look like? Well, we start with Scrum Mastery, which is really intended for the whole team. The next step is alignment. Okay, so Scrum Masters usually have to deal with stakeholders around the company to get them to support effective effective work. So we found that alignment is a key skill. And this is actually our partnership with the Personal Agility Institute, because there's a very strong overlap between these two objectives. And then the question is, where does that voyage take you? Well, the classical path in most approaches to Scrum training, they say, oh, you're going to grow up to be an Agile coach, maybe at the team level, maybe at the enterprise level. But a coach is more of an outsider, kind of someone standing next to the stage while the actors do their thing. What about someone who really wants to take the leadership role, particularly in these transformations? And this is where we look at the concept of an agility officer. Now, coaching is an important skill here, but the agility officer is actually responsible for and accountable for the business results coming through the Agile transformation. Now, we offer recognitions and celebrations along the way of your accomplishments. We recognize that you've been trained, and when you've reached a certain skill level and experience level, we offer recognitions of your achievements. Similarly, for the product owner, first level is to work within the Scrum team. The product owner is once again confronted with the alignment problem, so that's the second level. But then the product owner gets into the entrepreneurship challenge. What are we supposed to build, and why are we going to build it, and how do we know that there's a market for it, and how do we get from this vision to a backlog which we can take to the team? And then finally, assuming your product is successful, how is that product going to grow and thrive in the marketplace? So product vision, strategy, partnerships. This is what product management is about. Okay, and so our goal is to offer the complete training through your career development. I hope I've gotten your attention. I'd like to invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn. I'll be putting our Amber's and my LinkedIn LinkedIn links into the chat, and also the Scrum ambassadors. And if you have any questions, we'd be very happy to answer them. Okay, and with that, I'm going to say thank you very much and pass the talking stick back to Amber.
Thank you so much, Peter. So let me share my screen. Okay. About me, my name is Amr. I'm part of the Scrum Ambassadors. I'm a certified Scrum certified recognized ambassador. Mainly, I am a certified Scrum Master. I work at CGDeam and a Scrum consultant. And mainly, I was the Agile Reflect 20 Egypt ambassador last year. And it was my honor actually, since we were honored in the last World Agility Forum by the recognition. This was great news for me. In my everyday, I'm a facilitator, advisor, trainer, and coach, helping the team to achieve their maximum potential, promoting agility, and I hold an MBA in project management from Cardiff University, working in multiple managerial positions for over 7 years. So let's get to our agenda. So our topic today is a little bit interesting. It's mainly about what is being agile and how is it different from doing agile. And I actually made like a breakdown of these topics to certain highlights that I want to discuss with everyone here in the call. So what is agile? This is the first question. So is XP, Scrum, Kanban, and dynamic system development, crystal or feature-driven development. Is this agility or is this agile? This would be an interesting question. And unfortunately, for the sake of the time, I would ask this question, receive responses, but I would go directly now to the answer to this question for me. So, what is agility? For me, I remember this. I don't know you remember Roadrunner. So mainly, each time Roadrunner is chased, he runs and he runs again and he runs again and again and again. Although the right tools were available to catch the Roadrunner, the famous Roadrunner, this time, this time, and this time. So again, Roadrunner is fast. So is being fast describes being agile? This is a very good question. So actually, let's see. But for me, I would describe Roadrunner being agile. But uh, does being fast only is the way of being agile? Okay, so I wanted to go directly to this. So here in Agile, we have a lot of practices. Scrum, Kanban, XP. We can go a little bit deeper in Agile, and we'll find even new developed Agile techniques. But again, does practicing these practices means I'm being agile? Mainly, every time I have a problem, I'm trying to solve the problem. I am a problem driven person. I adopt the practices. I have the framework. I go on implementing the framework and I see the best framework. But the thing is, I'm not focusing on the real essence of what could make me more agile. It's about the relationships that we have, the safety and the trust, the innovation, looking to the future, having joy at work through gamification or through having a good retrospective, breaking through the organizational change. And our dream will always be achieving the goal together as one team. And this is the way to transformation, not adaptation. In other words, these are actually like guidelines to thinking of doing agile and being agile. So it's like two parts of the brain. Here, I have the practices. I can implement agile correctly. But again, I am not agile what I'll be doing or focusing on would be Scrum, Kanban, Safe, Extreme Programming. But again, I'll be dropping the real essence of agility, which is the business value, how I'm being incremental and why I'm being incremental, the iterative approach, how much collaborative I am, and the continuous improvement. So, what is the way into being agile? It's not doing agile or only being agile. The agile mindset is applying both, having the agility, understanding agility, how to be agile, and how to implement the right methodology that I might need in the team in order to solve a real problem. So that is my way of thinking what is agility or what is being agile. That comes up to switching to another topic is again, so why do I care about going after agile? What is agile for me? What will agile help me to solve? So one of the most interesting topics I have found online regarding implementing or adopting agile is removing or elimination of waste. So I decided to break down this in order to learn how adopting agile would help me. So first of all, what is waste? Is this the rubbish that I throw, for example? So mainly waste. The concept of waste has been initially identified by the manufacturing industry during late 1940s and was used and adopted by Toyota and promoted even how to avoid waste. How do we eliminate waste? And this was the beginning of the lean thinking, actually. So, what is waste? Waste is the opposite to value. I deliver a value to the customer. But again, can I deliver waste? Yes, if I delivered a function that is not working, then this is waste. This is one type of waste, actually. So, let's think about how do we adopt waste in our lifestyle and see how could we eliminate this. So, how to eliminate waste? Success of the lean manufacturing movement was being promoted in order to eliminate the waste. Part of Toyota's exercise, they start two things. First, identifying the waste, which means the feature or the process that does not add a value to the customer. And once they identified the waste, they created ways to eliminate this waste from the system. And this was the exercise they promoted and they got ahead in, and that's why some of the agile practices actually are adopting lean due to this type of thinking. So regarding this, we're having 7 types of wastes. Um, First type was transport of unnecessary moving of goods, inventory, which are materials or products not being processed, motion, which is the people and equipment moving more than required, waiting, planned and unplanned waiting during production, overproduction, which is production ahead of demand, overprocessing, which is doing more to a product than or rework of a product. These 7 wastes were identified in the manufacturing industry in Toyota production system, which is by Chigyo Shingo. Toyota had these 3 lean principles, which were adopted and greatly influenced Agile and the Scrum framework. So, first of all, before going to the other slide, maybe you can have some time in order to search about the type of wastes, maybe not in this time of the session, but I would invite you to understand, digging more into your daily life and understanding more what type of wastes do you do within the team and how can you identify this waste and help removing this. So let me switch to the other point. The other point I wanted to mention is a growth mindset. So every day when you go through real challenges, what you think about is what should I do in order to improve my own understanding or reaction to certain situations that could help save the day or help save the delivery, for example, and how to remove these challenges from the team. Again, this is not always the case with each person who is thinking the same way. So the growth mindset is based on um, thinking how to change, how to help people adopt this change, how to help coaches coach each team member in order to solve their own challenges. So this is actually a good diagram that you can see in the growth mindset, talking to the fixed mindset. Failure is an opportunity to grow. This is actually one of the most interesting, um, let's say, titles that always come in my mind. An opportunity to fail is an opportunity to understand something new and get a hold of it. I can learn to do anything I want with the growth mindset. Challenges help me to grow. My effort and attitude always determine my abilities. Feedback is always constructive. And I think what's meant by this is feedback, either positive or negative, is always constructive. I am always inspired by the success of others. Others inspire me in order to make a new, let's say, milestone, for example, that I want to reach. I like to try new things. While the fixed mindset, which is talking to the growth mindset, failure is the limit of my abilities. So this is like a way of expressing what failure goes through everybody's mind. For example, why didn't I achieve this? I think I'm missing something. This is the limit of my abilities. I think I can stop here. Either good or at it, or I'm not good at playing, for example, a new game that is new, like squash. I learned how to play tennis, but I'm not good at squash. So I'm not good at it. But did you try hard playing squash? My abilities are unchanging. I don't like being challenged. I can either do it or I cannot do it. My potential is predetermined. When I'm always frustrated, I give up. Feedback and criticisms are personal. I stick to what I know. So, um, adopting a growth mindset is, when we come back to agility, is part of how to express the agility itself. I adopt failure in each part of my day in order to receive something new that is learned by the team in order to facilitate my delivery and reach my goal. Failure in the fixed mindset is always a problem, not an influence to grow. So, how do you begin with the growth mindset? First of all, assess yourself. This is an assessment that tells you if you are you have or you adopt a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. I can actually let me send this after the presentation so that this link is available for everyone to try their assessment. Okay, so how to adopt agility. This actually is the most interesting part of my own mindset. So adopting agility is not sticking to a certain, let's say, framework or a certain methodology that I would like to implement each time. So there is actually a Japanese martial arts mindset, which is shuhari. This shuhari have been passed to a lot of ages in Japan, and actually is now promoted in agility. And Chuhari stands for Chu, which is follow the rules. This is the foundational level. Follow the rules that are available. You can adopt a certain framework, follow its rules, see how these rules can help you, and then we can go through the Ha. Ha is the understanding level. Understanding means I know the rules and I'm breaking the rules. And this level is an understanding level. And Re is the mastery level. Now I broke the rules. I know the rules, so I can make my own rules. How many people have, for example, seen some of the companies adopting an agile framework like Scrum, and they are not following all of the ceremonies available? This is actually a question I can be asking to everyone. So please raise your hand if you have an answer. No one did that? This is what they say in creative writing in America. Okay. Actually, Jacqueline, if you can unmute yourself and tell us about the example, it would be a little more interesting. Can you?
Sure. So when
Amazing.
I was in college, I was in some creative writing courses, and my professor basically said, I really loved your paper, but you have to prove to me that you know the rules before you break the rules.
That's
So basically,
amazing.
he was saying, follow the rules until I know you know the rules. And then when you're good enough, you can break the rules.
Amazing. And then after breaking the rules, what did they follow to it?
I just decided to break them anyway.
That's amazing. So sharing my own personal experience, I'm like coach two of the teams in my own company now. So we implement Scrum. So again, we we know how Shohari works. We follow the rules of Scrum, but then now we are in the part of understanding to break the rules. So we broke some of the rules that are, for example, essential to Scrum, but are not a must to be used. Like, for example, having the backlog refinement in a certain session, not an ongoing activity to have all of the team on it, only the product owner. And that limits some of the people from available at the ceremony, yes. It's a challenge, but again, it saved us a lot of time. This is one example that I can see how did we follow the rule and how did we break the rules. And we actually are in the process of making our own rules now. We are trying to make a certain process for how the backlog refinement can be done within this rules that we did break. And this is going to be adopted by all teams available in our company if this comes up to be a good activity that we are actually testing right now. So anybody else?
Could I offer maybe a controversial different perspective?
Sure.
I'm not convinced that Shuhari is useful. I know it works for martial arts. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with people trying to, teach you to inflict severe bodily harm. That the method seems to work. But the first time I heard Shuhari, I was watching an Agile presentation at a large corporation, a communications corporation. I think it was in New Jersey or someplace just outside of New York. So maybe the Americans in the room will have an idea. And the guy who was speaking got up and said, "Okay, guys, you guys are Shu, so shut up and follow the rules." Okay, and what was this thing about individuals and interactions over processes and tools? And what was it about Scrum is for problem solving and not for compliance? So I think that there's a lot of tension here between how do you learn, and kind of what's the best way to do it. In my own development, I kind of realized, it's funny, I actually remember Shuhari, and I remember having an opinion about how to do Scrum. And I said, this is not following the rules that whatever guru it was who was popular at the time, probably Ken or Jeff, this isn't following their rules. But you know what? I don't care, because I think this is the right way to do it based on my own experience. And when we look at that flower, these six principles, the flowers don't have much in the way of rules. Okay, they have principles, and they say do this, and they're trying to take you to the right place. But I'm wondering, is it possible to give people concepts and say implement the concepts, or do you have to give them rules and tell them to follow the rules until they're mature enough to follow the concepts? I don't know. Does anyone have an opinion on that? Maybe there's some experience in a different context.
You're a master. You go straight to make the rules.
Well, that's against what a master does, though. A master facilitates people to become masters within themselves. That is what a master does. The old saying, a master will never see the shade of the seed that he plants. And as Einstein would say, he's my favorite guy, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it yourself.
True.
And my physics teacher said, if you understand modern physics and you're not totally confused, then obviously you do not understand modern physics. Yeah.
But actually, regarding this point, I guess some of the agility principles actually adopt the Shuhari concept. Not maybe the teams, when they think of Shuhari, some of the coaches are afraid of people's change or people's mindset affecting the agility within the organization. So that's why they, I think from my own perspective, they shut them down. They tell them like, follow the rules, and after following all of the rules, maybe you can break the rule. But it's against the concept itself. That's agility. Agility is I can change. I can do something new within the organization, even if adopting some of the rules not in the right way. Maybe that's ahead of breaking the rules.
I always thought, the secret to getting ahead in an organization, to climbing the management tree, is to know how much you can push the organization to your own advantage without actually causing the organization to reject you and kick you out. Because if you just follow the rules, you'll never achieve anything. But if you break too many rules or get people upset at you, then, as I say, then the organization doesn't want you anymore, and so you have to go someplace else. So I think there's a real, I don't know, and you know, my impression, you know, from when I've coached large organizations, I get the impression that most of them are places where they want people to follow the rules. They define rules and they define process, and this enables them to be, you know, to be efficient. You know, and so of course the idea that you're going to break the rules or make your own rules, that somehow just doesn't quite compute. So I think a lot of the tension in agile implementations, especially in larger organizations, can be seen here in Shuhari.
Actually, I think your point is, yeah, I agree on this point because actually breaking too many rules is not always the right thing. So I totally agree on this. So I don't know, does everyone agree on this, or you think of another
Actually,
point?
actually, this is Sriram here. So I totally resonate with Peter here, because based on some of the transformations I have done, when somebody comes at the top or somebody comes regardless of the top, says these are the rules, this is how we're going to operate, this is the tool, this is the process, and between that, within this particular environment, do whatever you want, I don't care about it, then break the rules. Well, the rules are already set for somebody else to follow. Then it becomes too difficult for people to innovate, experiment, explore, because anything they try to do is now go back to the rules. You can do this. You can innovate. This is not within your pay grade. Things like that come up, and so it becomes too difficult. So, I mean, to be very honest, it should be the other way around. Make the rules first as a group. That's part of working agreements, and then try to follow them, and then try to see how you should adapt it based upon what your practices are. But the way it is listed is for a certain time period in history, for a certain group of people that needed to follow some guidelines. But I don't think we can just like that take it and expand it to the whole world and say, well, this is the way to make pizza, and now everybody has to make the pizza the same way. I don't know. That's the way I'm thinking too. Maybe I'm not using the same choice of words that Peter uses or somebody else is using, but my thought process is pretty much the same thing too.
Great example. I think this is good as well. So anybody else want to share their view of the Chuhari?
Well, I personally use Shuhari everywhere I go. So I need to learn some fundamentals of the position I'm going to work on. And then I see where I can improve myself, where I can make others people life easier. And then I break those rules I learned. So that's my view on this.
It's your Shuhari. You're part of the implementation of the Shuhari. And this is actually what I wanted to say at the end. Everybody can have his own Shuhari. Everybody can follow the rules in his own way, or in her own way, I mean. But again, this is not that does not mean follow the rules by heart. You can follow the rules in your own way. And when you break the rules, make sure to break these rules without breaking the essence of the team, for example. While since we say follow the rules and we are talking about teams, and we are talking that we are willing to implement a new methodology for the team in order to reach their own goal or maximize their own potential, don't make breaking the rule the way in order to get into more impediments. Make sure to break the right rules the right way.
That's a good
And
point.
when
In Agile, I don't have experience in Agile. I do have a Scrum Master certificate. So if once I get the job as a Scrum Master, I'm going to follow the rules. For example, the daily stand-up. But if team wants to do daily stand up some other way, then I'm going to do some other way because I'm there for them. At least that's how I think about it.
Which is good, actually. You're trying to enforce the team in order to learn the new process and adapt it. Being part of the process and helping them, you will be able to investigate if there is any thing new that you can implement, and then that's a part of breaking the rules.
Right.
And then mastering or making the rules after mastering the rules that I have done is another level. It's not that much easy. You must fail many times in order to reach this level. This is from my own point of view. Actually, this is my own shuhari. When you get to the mastery level, you must try failure a lot of times. And by failure, I do not mean failing to deliver, for example, or failing to achieve the spring goal. No, failing to make or apply the rules that I broke so many times. So when you get too much failures, you learn from too much failures. And this does not happen 1 or 2 or 3 times. It happens over experience. So actually, that's all from my side regarding doing agile and being agile. So in this 10 minutes, I dedicated for questions and answers, and actually considered this as an open-ended discussion. So I wanted to get everyone to say their opinion. What do you think is the difference between being agile and doing agile in their own way? So anybody wants to have the first question or have the first share of experience?
So Amr, if you like, I'll kick it off with the story of my own.
Please.
I believe I have the dubious honor of having given the push which led to the term Scrum Butt being created. You heard the term Scrum Butt? Okay, we're doing Scrum Butt. We don't do this. We're doing Scrum Butt. We don't do that. And back around, I guess it was 2008, there was a thing floating around called the Nokia test. It was intended to be kind of a litmus test. Nokia was an early adopter for Scrum at the corporate level. And so, I don't know, I'd read about it and thought, oh, this is cool. And I decided to put out a poll on my blog and say, well, how are people doing it on the Nokia test? And I don't know, I think 3 questions were about the basics of agility and 5 were about Scrum, or maybe the other way around. I forget the details. But anyway, I came back, I put out this test. I got, I don't know, some huge number of responses, like 30, which, as we all know, is totally representative of what's happening around the world. But I published it anyway and said, is anybody doing Scrum? And what happened is the powers that be, Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schraber, they picked it up and they said, hey, people, they say they're doing Scrum, but they're not really doing it. And, then, I don't know, that thing kind of took on a life of its own. But I think that's where the notion of, the way to do Scrum is to follow the rules came from. And, the problem is most people don't want to follow the rules. They want to solve their problems. Okay, so I don't know. So I would be turning it around. When someone is telling you to follow the rules, I would say, well, what's the problem we're trying to solve here? Okay, and that was, I think there's a healthier response to, our Scrum isn't doing, we're not that agile, then follow the rules. And it usually starts with a question and some dialogue. Okay, that for me is the whole, what does it mean to be agile is really that first sentence, uncovering better ways of doing what we're doing by doing it and helping each other to do it. And so you get learning, you get collaboration. And if you look a little bit deeper, you'll find purpose, and kind of that's what it's all about. And I think if you got those 3 things, whether you're following the rules or not is not that big a deal. My humble opinion. But maybe someone has a different opinion.
I'll share something, and I'm just going to walk you through a situation that I had. We were getting a new place. We were just renting at this time. I had seen an apartment like it or a villa like it. I hadn't seen the villa that we were living in. So the day that we were moving in was the first day that we were actually seeing the villa. Well, you have to put furniture and set your place up. You have to get your decorations together. So the only thing I had that went into this villa was a carpet that had multicolors on it, right? Just to have something to put in. And I realized there was a fireplace, and the fireplace would be the focal point, where you would put your TV above it, right? That's the plan. Well, nothing went as planned because there was not a stud where the fireplace was. So we had to move where we initially decided to put the TV. Well, when the person came in to put the TV in, he put it off-centered on the wall. So then it was trying to measure the room for the couch. Well, none of the couches that we wanted would fit in the room. So we ended up having to go with a red couch. So now I've got all these different things that don't so much go together, but being agile about it and getting things done a little bit at a time, and then changing, reiterating and changing what we were doing made a beautiful living room, because I just waited and pieced everything together as I went. And to fix the TV that wasn't centered, I just bought a large, long piece of art and stretched it and put it up to fix that area. So being agile is being able to do it in your everyday life. And when you've got problems that come up, measurements, anything that comes up, you can stop, reassess, and go forward with the change.
True. And actually, I had a question. How did this make you feel when you did not find where is the fireplace in order to hang the TV over?
I was fine with it because I wanted to put Buddha up there anyway. So I actually won that one.
Yeah, that's
My
actually
husband, not
amazing.
so much. He really wanted the TV there, but it would have made things much easier, but it didn't work out that way. And so things kept changing, and that's okay because I was able to adapt.
So actually, I would say this is the right way to have the mindset accepting the change. So this is amazing to hear actually from you, because as a person, I would actually be frustrated at a time before adapting to this change. And
Yeah,
this shows
absolutely.
how much emotions can control my thinking at a time.
Well, and so what I've decided to do is create an application that will help women that were in my position to be able to measure out and, do it more agilely.
Oh, wow. This is a real change of mindset. You even went into the application. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's being built as we speak.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so anybody else want to share their experience in the essence of doing agile versus being agile?
Yeah, I can put forward few things when I go for coaching at my organization. What I usually try to bring the essence is doing agile is something like there are some centralized rules, you need to follow that. And then being agile is somewhere without even your consciousness, you are in that mode of doing. To keep very easiest example is something like you go to a tailor. You would have without knowledge, the thing here is like when you ask to stitch a dress in a certain manner, they would have taken some kind of measurements and all, and then it is like something has been planned, and then it is like a process is there, like we do this way and we agree. And then like there are two things here. Doing agile is like, okay, he is giving something to me and I am following it. I'm not breaking anything or giving my inputs to it. And then over that time, the more and more I see and learn from others, there comes a point where like I go and give him inputs which helps him break the process what he had in place, and also try to inculcate the changes what I'm asking. And then that's how that mastering comes in place, the re part of the shuhari. And then he is responding to me without his consciousness. And then he is that's where the core principles also gets built in, even in our day-to-day basis, is what I try to guide people so that they can relate in their normal day-to-day activity. Like you would have had a plan, and then you go and ask, and the other person responds to it, and then say, okay, I was thinking of stitching this way, but then I can do it this way. That's where the second part of breaking and then going to the mastering level, where critical thinking, system thinking, and all can be brought to the person's mindset, is what I believe.
That's great. So, if we had like a agility meter and we have done an assessment for people before and after this training, would you say they are agile by the end of the training?
Yeah. To some extent, some people might be acting agile, some people might be doing agile, and some guys will be being agile. I mean, it is in their nature that we go with the changes, whichever is the fastest way, we stick to that.
Mhm. That's actually good. Sometimes I encounter organizations, that's why I asked this question, that they go on and say we will have an agile mindset, a change of our own processes, and we are going to apply agility as it should be. And then they go through the process of agile transformation. But again, there comes the problem, which is the bottleneck. It comes to the organization that they need to promote agility on the C level, and then on the employees, and they take it like top down. That's amazing. And then when they go through the promotion, people go through the transformation, and then after being like we say, the experts in their own way, they learn agile, they practice agile, but again they come back to the same problem, which is they did like a version of their own mindset, which is a contradicting ideas of, would I do what I do every day the same way, or would I change this in order to give space for my organization to be agile? Some organizations, after adopting all of the agility, let's say coaching and the agility certifications, and having the right mindset in a certain place, they give this up in order to keep the organization running the same way. And this is actually the fear of the unknown, or the fear of anonymous for me.
Very true, very true. And even until the leaders don't understand what's it is for them, what is that they are gaining from that agility, they would not really go for it. They would try to showcase as if that they are doing agile, or they are agile in nature, but then they might not really understand what is the ROI of being agile.
True. I totally agree on this. That's amazing.
Well,
So,
I actually think the points that you just raised are why I think that this really needs to be a C-level position. You know, it's the decision to go agile isn't something that happens in the departments or in the IT. It's really a cultural change that impacts the entire company. And so I posted a job description of what the Chief Agility Officer should be doing. And, if you, it's on my blog. So if you want to take a look at it, and, this is maybe the start of a conversation with your leadership about how to get the company moving in a more agile direction.
It's I think it's something motivational for me. I'll go and see it myself, because actually, Peter, you're the only agility officer, chief agility officer in my whole life that I've seen till now.
There are 2 or 3 other people who have the job title, and sometimes you'll hear the term what was it? So Chief Transformation Officer, or Chief, sometimes Chief Culture Officer. I've even seen the CEO renamed to Chief Empowerment Officer. So, there's some movement going on here. But it's rare to see an agile transformation with real executive level support. But when you have it, you get really amazing results. Like Bosch has demonstrated the ability to deliver new products in a few weeks. They did a park distance controller for locomotives from idea to product available for sale in 5 weeks. They did an automated COVID tester from idea to saleable product in 7 weeks. If you kind of get that focus at the top level and are willing to make the changes to really, enable things to happen without resistance, all of a sudden things can be much, much faster than what you're used to in a company.
Yeah. I
Okay.
totally agree to this.
Anyway, so I see folks are heading out. So maybe this is a time to say thank you very much.
Yeah.
Maybe a reminder to go into the
Thank you,
chat.
everyone.
We put the links, maybe save the chat on those 3 dots if you don't want to follow them now, so you get a copy of them, because otherwise they go away when you leave the Zoom. So Amar, thank you very much for a very, I really enjoyed this. I thought we had some great discussions and some great topics came out.
Thank you so much, Peter. And thank you, everyone. Again, who is not aware of Access Agile, you can go to the Access Agile page to see what is Access Agile. And if you want to know more about Scrum Ambassadors program in Access Agile, you can head off to scrumambassadors.org, and you will see what program are we offering in the beginners part of the Access Agile. Okay.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you. See you in the rest of the event. Bye.